I found out my husband's coworker was crossing boundaries with him, and now I'm second-guessing everything. I, 26F, have been married to my husband, Mark, 28M, for 3 years. Mark works at a mid-sized company where everyone seems to be pretty tight-knit, especially during the holidays. They organize various events, team-building activities, office parties, and even weekend trips. While I've always admired how much he enjoys his work, I've never been comfortable participating in these gatherings. I have social anxiety, and meeting new people is far from my favorite thing. But last winter, Mark convinced me to join him on a weekend getaway to the mountains with a small group of his coworkers. "It'll be fun," he said. "Everyone is super chill. You'll love them." The group consisted of Anna, 25F, Tom, 24M, and old Anna, 45F. Mark assured me they were all great people, and I trusted him. What could go wrong? Apparently, everything. From the moment we arrived, it was clear that Anna, the younger one, didn't like me. I don't know if I did something to offend her or if she was just naturally rude, but she ignored me completely. If I asked her a question, she'd pretend not to hear. If I tried to join a conversation, she'd shift her body away or talk over me. It was subtle but consistent, and it stung. On the first day, we all decided to hit the slopes. I've never skied before, so I opted to stay on the beginner's hill. Mark offered to stay with me, but before he could finish his sentence, Anna grabbed his arm and said, "Come on, you're too good for that slope, let's go." He hesitated for a second, glancing at me. I forced a smile and told him it was fine, but I spent the entire day alone, struggling to figure out how to ski while they zipped down the advanced slopes together. When we reconvened that evening, they wanted to take a group photo. Anna clapped her hands and said loudly, "Let's get one with us, work people." Her tone made it clear I wasn't included. That evening, we all gathered in one of the rooms for a game night. Everyone had changed into comfy clothes, pajamas, sweatpants, hoodies. Everyone except Anna, who showed up in tiny shorts and a bra-like top. She plopped down on the couch next to Mark, laughing and leaning close to him. I ended up on a chair in the corner, feeling out of place. We started playing Uno, but apparently they had their own house rules, which Tom explained very quickly. I missed one of the rules during my turn, and Tom snapped at me, raising his voice like I'd ruined the entire game. "Do you not get it? It's not that hard," he said, rolling his eyes. I felt my face burn, but I stayed quiet. I didn't want to make a scene or embarrass Mark in front of his coworkers. Still, it brought back painful memories of being yelled at as a kid, and I had to fight back tears. Throughout the game, Anna kept making passive-aggressive comments. If I tried to say something to Mark, she'd interrupt, pulling his attention back to her or the group. Meanwhile, Tom kept arguing with me over every little thing I said, as if his sole purpose was to contradict me. The only person who seemed decent was old Anna. She was polite, but we didn't have much in common, so our conversations were brief. After a few hours, I couldn't take it anymore. I excused myself, claiming I was tired, and went to bed early. Mark stayed behind, laughing and joking with the group while I lay awake, feeling small and alone. The next day, I stayed in the room while Mark went back to the slopes with his coworkers. I didn't want to be around them anymore. When we got home, I couldn't hold it in any longer. For the first time in our relationship, we had a serious argument. I told him everything, how Anna ignored me, how Tom yelled at me, how I felt humiliated and left out. Most importantly, I told him how much it hurt that he didn't stand up for me or even notice what was happening. His response? "That's just how they are. I'm used to it." I was stunned. Used to it? That was supposed to make me feel better? I tried to explain that just because he could tolerate their behavior didn't mean I should have to. But the more we talked, the more I realized he genuinely didn't see anything wrong. At least I thought I wouldn't have to deal with Anna again. Mark and Anna worked in different departments and rarely interacted at the office. That was my one silver lining, until 2 months ago. Mark came home one evening, excited to tell me about a big new project at work. It was a huge deal for his career, and he'd been handpicked to join the team. At first, I was thrilled for him, but then he mentioned he'd be working closely with Anna. My stomach dropped. "Wait, which Anna?" I asked, hoping it was old Anna. He hesitated. Anna. The younger one. I didn't say anything at the time, but ever since I've felt uneasy. Mark assured me it was strictly professional, but I can't shake the memory of that weekend. Anna was openly dismissive and rude to me, but with him, she was all smiles and charm. Now they're spending late nights together on a high-pressure project, and I can't help but feel uncomfortable. I trust Mark. I really do. But I don't trust Anna, and the thought of her monopolizing his time and attention for the next year makes me feel sick. I haven't brought up my feelings to Mark yet. I don't want to come across as jealous or controlling, but I can't ignore the pit in my stomach. Am I overreacting, or is this a legitimate concern? How do I handle this without damaging my relationship? Right now, I feel stuck. Mark seems oblivious to Anna's behavior, and I don't know how to make him see what I see. Part of me wonders if I should just let it go, but the other part of me feels like I need to stand up for myself, for once. 2 weeks after Mark told me about the project, I came home from running errands to find him sitting on the couch, looking a little nervous. Anna invited us to her Christmas party, he said. Which Anna? I asked, already knowing the answer. Young Anna, he replied, his voice carefully neutral. I stared at him. You're joking. She's inviting the whole team, he said quickly. It's just a casual thing, to celebrate the holidays. I thought it might be a good idea for you to come, get to know her better. I laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. You mean the same Anna who ignored me and treated me like a ghost last year? The one who draped herself all over you in front of me? That Anna? Mark rubbed the back of his neck. Look, I know she was kind of weird on the trip, but maybe she just didn't know how to act around you. It might be different this time. I wanted to refuse, but part of me was tired of running from this woman. She'd made me feel invisible once, but I didn't want her to think she could intimidate me forever. Fine, I said, crossing my arms. I'll go, but if she tries anything, don't expect me to stay quiet. The party was at Anna's apartment, and when we arrived, I was immediately struck by how perfect everything looked. She had a massive Christmas tree decked out in sparkling lights, expensive-looking decorations, and a spread of food that looked like it had been lifted from a cooking magazine. Anna greeted us at the door, wearing a red dress so tight and short it left little to the imagination. Her smile widened when she saw Mark. Mark, you made it, she said, ignoring me completely. I cleared my throat loudly. Oh, and you brought your wife, she added, her tone syrupy and fake. Yes, I said, meeting her gaze directly. I'm hard to miss. Her smile faltered for just a second, but then she ushered us inside. The evening started out relatively uneventful. I stuck close to Mark, making small talk with his coworkers and sipping on a glass of wine. Anna, meanwhile, was her usual self, laughing a little too loudly at Mark's jokes, touching his arm whenever she got the chance, and generally acting as though I didn't exist. About an hour into the party, Mark excused himself to the restroom, leaving me alone for the first time. I was browsing through my phone when Anna approached me, holding a glass of champagne. You know you're lucky, she said, her tone so sweet it was almost nauseating. Excuse me? Mark, she said, gesturing toward the bathroom. He's such a great guy. So thoughtful. So kind. You're really lucky to have him. I narrowed my eyes. I know I am. She leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. It's just surprising, You don't really seem like his type. I felt my stomach churn, but I kept my face calm. And what exactly is his type? Anna shrugged, feigning innocence. Oh, confident, outgoing, someone who can keep up with him. She tilted her head, smiling. But I guess opposites attract, right? Before I could respond, Mark returned, oblivious to the tension between us. What did I miss? He asked cheerfully. Nothing important, I said, giving Anna a tight smile. Later in the evening, Anna suggested playing a game, one of those icebreaker games where everyone shares something about themselves. It seemed innocent enough, so I went along with it. The questions started out harmless. What's your favorite Christmas tradition? If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would it be? But then Anna grinned mischievously. Okay, new question. What's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you? When it was Mark's turn, he hesitated. I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Oh, come on, Anna said, her voice teasing. There's got to be something. Mark chuckled awkwardly, and I could see he was uncomfortable. But before he could come up with an answer, Anna jumped in. Okay, fine. I'll share one for you. She leaned forward, smirking. Remember that time at the team building retreat when you fell off the paddleboard in front of everyone? You were soaked. The group burst into laughter, but I felt a wave of irritation. That was from a trip Mark hadn't told me about, a detail Anna knew, but not me. Mark laughed along with them, but I could see the awkwardness in his expression. I wanted to say something, to call her out, but I bit my tongue. As the party wound down, Anna handed out small gifts to everyone. When she gave Mark his, she leaned in and said something too quietly for me to hear. Whatever it was, it made him smile. On the way home, I finally let my frustration out. What did Anna say to you when she gave you that gift? Mark blinked, confused. What? Oh, she just said it was a joke gift. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal, I repeated, my voice sharper than I intended. Kind of like how she ignored me all night, or how she keeps going out of her way to make me feel like I don't belong. Mark sighed. She wasn't ignoring you. She was just trying to be friendly. I laughed bitterly. Friendly? That's what you call it? Mark, she's been condescending to me since the moment I met her. And don't think I didn't notice how much time she spends talking to you. He frowned. Are you seriously jealous? Anna's just a coworker. There's nothing going on. I'm not jealous, I said, though part of me wasn't sure if that was true. I just don't trust her. And honestly, I'm starting to wonder why you're so blind to her behavior. Mark was quiet for a moment. I think you're reading too much into this, he said finally. I didn't respond. I was too tired to argue, and deep down, I knew he wasn't going to see things my way. The next day, Mark left for work early, and I spent the morning stewing over everything that had happened. I wasn't sure how to move forward. Part of me wanted to confront Anna directly, but another part of me feared it would only make things worse. All I knew was that I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. Anna wasn't just a coworker to Mark. She was a problem, and one way or another, I needed to find a way to deal with her. But how? A few days later, Mark came home with surprising news. You'll never guess what happened today, he said, hanging up his coat. I raised an eyebrow. What? Old Anna pulled me aside at work. She asked how you were doing and if you were okay after the party. I froze, completely caught off guard. She asked about me? Mark nodded, sitting down beside me. She said she noticed that Anna, the younger one, was being, well, not exactly welcoming to you at the party. She thought it might have upset you. The mention of old Anna's concern stirred something in me. Relief, maybe? At least someone else had seen it. I wasn't imagining things. And what did you say? I asked cautiously. I told her you seemed fine afterward, but that I'd talk to you. She said she didn't want to meddle, but thought I should know. I stared at him, debating whether to bring everything up again. This felt like an opening, but I didn't want to come across as obsessed with Anna. Mark noticed my hesitation. Is there something you haven't told me? I took a deep breath. I'm glad old Anna noticed because honestly, your coworker Anna makes me feel like crap. And it's not just about me, it's how she acts around you too. Mark frowned, looking genuinely confused. What do you mean? She undermines me, I said. She ignores me, talks over me, and then she acts like you're the only person in the room. She's rude, Mark, and she knows exactly what she's doing. He leaned back, processing my words. I don't think she's trying to do that on purpose. Anna's just Anna. She's kind of blunt and awkward sometimes. I shook my head. No, Mark, it's not awkwardness. It's intentional. And if you can't see that, maybe you're the one being naive. The conversation didn't end with fireworks, but it felt like a tiny shift. Mark didn't argue with me the way he had before, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of doubt in his expression. Over the next few weeks, I noticed small changes. Mark stopped mentioning Anna as much, and when he did, it was always in a neutral or businesslike tone. He also started coming home earlier from work, despite the long hours the project supposedly demanded. At first, I thought he was just trying to make me feel better. But then something happened that made me wonder if there was more to it. One afternoon, I stopped by Mark's office to drop off his lunch. It wasn't something I normally did, but I'd had the day off and figured it would be a nice surprise. When I walked in, the receptionist greeted me warmly and directed me to the break room. As I approached, I heard voices, Mark's and Anna's. "Come on, it's just coffee," Anna was saying, her tone playful. "I promise I won't keep you long. It's not like your wife has to know." I froze in the hallway, my heart pounding. Mark's response was immediate and firm. "That's not funny, Anna. You're crossing a line." Her laugh was light, but it carried an edge. "Relax, I'm just teasing. You're so uptight sometimes." I stepped into the room before I could lose my nerve. "Am I interrupting something?" Both of them turned to look at me. Anna's smile vanished in an instant, replaced by something icy and calculating. Mark, on the other hand, looked relieved to see me. "Hey, babe," he said, walking over to me. "What are you doing here?" "I brought your lunch," I said, handing him the bag. My eyes flicked to Anna, who was now busying herself with her phone. "Well, thank you," Mark said, giving me a quick kiss on the cheek. "You're the best." Anna didn't say a word as I left, but I could feel her glare burning into my back. That night, Mark brought up the incident on his own. "I don't know what's gotten into Anna lately," he admitted, running a hand through his hair. "She's been different, pushier." I crossed my arms. "And you still think she's just awkward?" He sighed. "No, I think you're right. She's crossed some boundaries, and I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." Hearing those words felt like a weight lifting off my chest. "What are you going to do about it?" "I'll handle it," he said firmly. "I don't want you to worry anymore." I nodded, feeling a mix of relief and apprehension. The next day, Mark came home with news. "I talked to my manager about switching teams," he said. My eyes widened. "You did?" "Yeah, I told him the project was starting to interfere with my work-life balance, and I'd prefer to move to something with less late-night collaboration." He smiled faintly. I didn't mention Anna specifically, but I think he got the message. Tears welled up in my eyes. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did," he said. "You're more important to me than any project. And honestly, I'm tired of her behavior too." It wasn't a dramatic ending. There were no screaming matches or grand gestures, but it was exactly what I needed. For the first time in months, I felt like Mark and I were truly on the same team. Anna wasn't happy about Mark switching teams. Word got back to me through old Anna that she'd complained about losing the best member of the group. But I didn't care. Mark and I began spending more time together, and the shadow Anna had cast over our marriage started to fade. I don't know if Anna will ever fully be out of our lives, but at least now I know Mark sees her for who she really is. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like I can breathe again.